Good morning, my name's Mary Roulston. Good morning here in wet, rainy Oxford. And welcome to my webinar on the 10 essential tips for teaching young learners. So whether you're a very experienced teacher or whether you've only been teaching a few months or a few years, I'm sure there'll be a tip here that will help enhance your classes. And also just to share and benefit from other people's ideas, and hopefully we'll have a chance to share everyone else's ideas at another time. So I'm just going to share my presentation with you, and let's make sure I get the right one. So this 10 essential tips for teaching very young learners. I'm Mary Roulston. I'm the author of Smart Start, the early pre-primary course for very young learners. So a little bit about myself first, my experience. I graduated with an MA in psychology, so wasn't directly going down the teaching route, but was very much going down the educational psychology route with children when I left university. So I started working in schools before leaving to go to Spain to teach English as a foreign language. While I was in Spain, I taught lots of different ages, from very, very young learners right through to adults, people working in offices at the crack of dawn and that kind of thing. But the young learners were always my preference. And when I moved on to a director of studies role, I always chose for myself this certain age group of learners to teach, because it was so much fun, hard work, tiring, but a lot of fun. And they just are such intuitive learners at that age. So I had so much fun creating the characters and the stories and the songs for Smart Start. So my own, we have here on the slide the characters of Smart Start, the twins Tom and Izzy, and their cat Coco. My own eldest daughter is called Izzy, short for Isabel, but I don't have a son and I don't have a cat called Coco. I've got another little girl called Eleni. So having two young daughters as well has also kept me immersed in the world of pre-primary. When I was writing Smart Start, my own daughters were the age of the target children. So it's quite an easy reference thinking about what they, and of course they're just one child, so they and their friends could do. So I'm going to start with my first tip. I hope there's some kind of order here, at least for the first ones. So the first tip is to get to know your individual learners. So every child is different and will learn in a different way. So at this age, there's some quite obvious reasons for differences, because you start preschool at 3, but one child might be 4 the following week, and one child might have only just turned 3. And at that age, 11 months, even 6 months is a huge developmental difference between children. But it's not always the case. Sometimes the very young children will be the quickest and the most mature in their way of learning than the younger ones. So you can't just judge an age. But children will have different energy, they'll learn in different ways, their experiences of classroom, of different childcare settings will be different. Their home lives and their experiences before coming to class will be different. For some children in the lower levels or even the high levels, they'll be leaving their homes for the first time. So you have to deal with the emotional side as well as the learning side. And some children will have spent longer in childcare settings before starting more formal preschool. So if you get to know the children in your class, you can set individual expectations for each child. So this Smart Start isn't a course which is full of assessment, because children are only young. You can't assess them. They're there This is their first experience of learning English. We want them most of all to learn, to have fun. But a little, what we call formative assessment, while you observe, just through observation of the children, you can set expectations of your own for different children, what they will learn out of a certain language set or vocabulary set, without even them knowing, but help them to progress and set goals for each child within their range. And as well, there's lots of different styles of learning. A lot of children will be very energetic, but a lot of children will get very tired towards the end of the day. This is completely normal, so you have to then make sure that you keep the class, oh no, that's the next one. You set up a routine for your English lesson. So whether you're the teacher of the class who teaches all the subjects, or whether you just go into the class to teach English, it's great just to set up a bookmark, a bookend, so children know that this is English time. So a song that you can always do to signify English class starts here. So I recommend you use the Hello song. I think it's track 1.10 from level 1 of Smart Start at the start of every lesson, where you say, hello girls, hello boys, hello teacher, and take out your Cocoa puppet if you have one. Unfortunately, I haven't got a Cocoa puppet, so I can't show you a demonstration, but using the puppet, it could be a tip on its own, but I haven't put it as a tip. But using any kind of toys or props or puppets in the class is a way to engage children. So you can always start the class with your song and then have Coco greet the class individually, or even sing the song with the children. You may have your other routines that you start at the beginning of every class, which you wish to do in English as well. So asking, what day is it today? What's the weather like today? But just to keep this time purely English, and try and set up some of the classroom language in English, like please now go to the toilet, or I don't understand, or just always speak back as much as you can to the children in English, even if they're talking to you in L1. And then at the end of your English session, you could play a goodbye song, just to make sure that the English time is a time that is separate from the rest of the class. Okay, and my next tip is to keep things moving. So use TPR actions for all the vocabulary that you're teaching the children. TPR stands for total physical response, but actually just means that children are doing some kind of action which helps them associate the meaning of the vocabulary. So a lot of vocabulary words have very simple and obvious actions, like if you're doing animals, like duck, goat, and if you're doing weather, can you make an action for the rain? And in the teacher's book, there are suggestions for actions for all the different vocabulary. But even sometimes when you can't really act out, and you could try to get creative, for example, family members, you can use the family members poster from level 1, and children can point to the family member that you're talking to, and just the action of pointing will help. Is a total physical response action, which will help them to remember the vocabulary associated with an action and a picture. You can have dances and dance to them and move to the music and the chants. Let the children invent their own moves, their own actions for things, and have fun creating different dance routines. and also keep the tempo of the class moving. So children have very short attention spans at this age. So they will learn a lot in the first few minutes of doing an activity, but will soon start getting a bit fidgety, looking out the window, fiddling with themselves, and start getting bored. And that's when the attention span stops, it's time to move on. So keep the tempo between more teacher talk time, heads down, concentrating time, and fun movement activities. Keep that going, because sometimes the children will get a bit bored and restless if they're doing a lot of one and not the other. And some children get super excited and silly if they do a game a lot. So just keep the tempo going, but know when to stop. So if you're going through an activity that just simply isn't working for your class, and they're starting to get restless and their attention spans are running out, just think, okay, don't take it personally. I'm going to stop that activity and move on to something else, move on to a different beat of the lesson. If the activity is something that's important or you want to do, just go back to it at a different time once children are energized again. And also you can use mindfulness techniques in class. So this might sound like quite a new idea. It is to some degree a new idea, but I even remember my own school when I was very, very young, many, many years ago. Maybe if we were getting too restless or tired or fidgety, the teacher would just say, arms on desk, head on arms. So we would just have a quiet moment, and the teacher would have a quiet moment just to kind of relax, be mindful, and just slow down, because children get very, very tired at school. The full day of school, you think, even if your child is used to going to nursery, and you think, oh, they're used to having a full day. There's something different about school, and you know how tired the children get at the end of a day, especially at the beginning of term and at the end of term, and sometimes somewhere in the middle as well. So you can also use other mindful techniques such as the yoga poses you can see on the pictures, or just have children stand and breathe, try and stand still. My slides are moving on their own. So you also use songs and chants as much as you can in the class. So in Smart Start, we have lots of different songs and chants that will help children remember the language and vocabulary. So we have them for vocabulary, language, numbers and counting, some for stories, some for the values, and some that you can use for classroom routines. So as I've said before, and I'm moving on to as well, use a lot of movement and actions when you use songs. And they're such a great way to learn, that children really remember and really remember well in a different part of their brain from they learn their other memories, to say songs and sing songs. I can still sing songs that my mum taught me in French when I was very little, and I can't speak a word of French, but I can still sing songs in French. So use all those songs that we've created for you, and the repetition of the songs also is great. And children might have a favorite song, so let them also choose songs that they want to do again and sing again in class. So my next tip is to use games. So the teacher's book is a fantastic resource, and I recommend that you to get the most out of the course, you use the teacher's book, because all that is on the student book page is the student-facing activities, and all my methodology and thought behind and the teacher's book author's ideas are in the teacher's book of how to structure what you see on the page. And one of the ways you can structure your class is to use games to interject, to keep the class moving like before, but also a great way for different types of, for the total physical response and the active learners to enjoy and have fun and learn the language. So we have lots of great ideas. We've got the whole set of words and vocabulary on flashcards, which are a great for playing games. There's lots of ideas for flashcard games. And you can make your own resources for games. You can write a number 1, a number 2, a number 3, a number 4 on a sheet of paper, and have children run to the numbers. If you clap, for example, 1, 2, 3, children run to 3. There's loads of ideas you can get from using the teacher's book and the teacher's book games bank. So here's an example of the teacher's book games bank. So as you can see, there's lots of different flashcard activities. So there's a set of flashcards with the teacher's pack. You can do matching, seeking the flashcards. You can do yes/no games, for example, show a flashcard. If you say what's on it, but don't always say what's on it. So if you're showing a flashcard of a girl, you say boy, and the children jump up if it's not the correct word which is on the flashcard. You can also play games of other props, such as small toys. So you can do a feely bag game or a blindfolded game if you have toys of animals or food or any of the other things that children are learning, and children feel and guess what it is. You can play games without any props at all, such as, we have one example here is Coco's Whisper, where you just whisper a word around the circle. You whisper it to the first child, they pass the whisper around, excuse me, and then you see if the whisper is the right one, which comes back. The next tip is to create a literacy-rich classroom. So share stories in class time and circle time with the children. I always recommend using first of all, the book, the story in the book, to enjoy and share a story with the children. Don't be too hung up really about them understanding everything, especially not on the first read through. The stories come quite late in the unit, so you have practiced the language and the vocabulary, and the story is what gels it all together. So as children will use what they've learned and the story pictures to enjoy the stories. So I have children sit around, read the story to them, and also the course Smart Start is what we call a literacy rich course. So from the very first level, all the words on the page are in text for the vocabulary. And this isn't for children to are not expected to read this. They're just expected to show them and begin to understand as emerging readers that text has a meaning. Text in English looks like this. It goes from left to right, and it has a meaning tied to the picture that is next to it. And you can also do more things in your classroom to create this literacy-rich environment, such as creating a story corner where you have storybooks in English and in other languages which children can sit and enjoy. Even having it as a reward time for children to go and sit and spend some time in in the story corner, either enjoying a book on their own or in groups or sharing, which also helps them learn to cooperate in class. And you can always put lots of posters and displays on the wall to create this literacy-rich environment. There's lots of posters with each level of Smart Start that you can use to decorate your classroom. And do decorate as well with your children's own work as well. And you can create word labels onto their artwork to create this literacy-rich feel. We also have all the stories for Smart Start are on animated videos. And so I think after having a read through the story, it's a great idea to show the children the animation, because they're very engaging and very sweet animations that you have on the teacher's digital, and students also have on the student digital. So I'm just going to show you an example of one of the stories in Smart Start as an animation. Let me just press play.
Show and tell.
Oh no! Where's the blue bird? It's on the board. Where's the green bird?
It's next to the door.
The yellow bird is on the table. Oh, where's the yellow bird? Now it's under the bed.
So children will love watching those and really enjoy the story that way. And they will enjoy taking them home as well and showing them to their families and sharing them. We move on now to the next tip, number 8, which is teaching the whole child. So in different ways, we nurture all aspects of a child's growth and development through the course. So including social and emotional learning. So just learning to have social awareness, learning to understand each other's, cooperate with each other's, have self-awareness. They learn cognitive skills such as memory and matching. They learn motor skills. So as emerging writers, they learn to trace numbers and letters, trace lines and shapes, and then in the later levels to trace words and numbers for their motor skills. They use critical thinking skills throughout the course, similar to the cognitive type skills. We have numeracy and literacy skills through the course. So we have a strong phonics theme, and we use the synthetic phonics approach, which is how they teach phonics in UK schools. So they teach the sound, one sound per letter, and then sound out and blend. So we use Coco to sound out and blend the words. For example, cat. What's that? Cat. So children learn a sound for every letter and then put those sounds together to make words. And there is separate phonics and numeracy books that you can use, as well as the main class book. There's also cross-curricular subjects like science, arts, and creativity, and health and hygiene topics such as washing hands and brushing teeth. and excuse me, and also the value lessons in Smart Start follow the whole child approach. So in every lesson, in every story lesson, there's a different value. So values are so important to teach for children, to learn to cooperate, to learn how to work with each other, because children have, it's such an important skill to learn, because children start at preschool very self-centered, they play with themselves, they're not used to being in the classroom environment. And this is normal, this is how they develop. And they have to learn to cooperate and get on with children, to empathize, to understand how they're feeling, to see if someone's feeling sad or feeling different, not feeling happy, feeling excited, to recognize those feelings in themselves and also recognize the feelings in each other, and to also recognize kindness and forgiveness, to learn cooperation skills like sharing and taking turns. So every story is centered around a different value, whether it's helping or welcoming or accepting different children into the class, diversity and inclusion as well. So also as a teacher, you can help teach the values as well by always embodying the value yourself, to speak to children on their level, to show them attention and listening, to make sure they feel valued as a learner as well. So I'm going to show you another story. We're not going to play guess the value, but you can see that there's a value very central to the message in this story video. And I shall play that for you now.
Jet's first day. What's your name?
I'm Jet. Hello, Jet. How are you? Hello. I'm fine, thank you. Are you a girl or a boy? I'm a girl.
Draw a picture, please, children.
Oh. Paper. A pencil. Crayon. Thank you. Welcome to our class, Jet.
So what started out as a story where I just thought, how am I going to include the language, are you a girl or are you a boy? Because you wouldn't normally ask that unless you're practicing, are you a boy or are you a girl? And I thought, okay, maybe a gender neutral green monster. But actually the value that comes across very strongly there is inclusion. So welcoming different people to your class, and sharing as well comes through sharing the resources. But diversity and inclusion, even if you're a green monster, you're different, but you're the same, and you're a member of the class community, which I think is a lovely message to come across to the children. Okay, my next tip is to get creative. So there are lots of ways, not just art and craft to get creative, but art and craft is a fantastic way for children to learn and enjoy themselves and express themselves creatively. So there's lots of ideas for pictures and paintings and art projects that children can do in the teacher's book. And lots of ideas as well for within the science lessons as well to do project work. Some children enjoy more messy play, like finger painting and hand handprints. But some children won't, they don't like the feeling of it. And that's okay. They can use a brush, they can express themselves with crayons and paint. Also role play. So we have the little stories of the grammar, the language with Tom, Izzy and Coco, which always hopefully have a funny ending with Coco doing something silly, which the children can role play and practice. You can play on the audio for children to repeat afterwards. And also things like imaginative play is creative. If children are left with some toys, for example, toys that show the target language, or even playing role play shops with flashcards for food, or role play cafes, shops with toys. So you just give children a chance to play on their own, either on their own or cooperatively, taking turns and sharing the toys and creating their own little stories with them is a great way of creative expression. We've already talked about musical expression. You can even make simple instruments for children to use when they sing and chant in class. So you can, just very simple things you can find day to day, like a plastic bottle filled with rice can become a shaker to shake the beat of the song. You can get a plastic tub and rubber bands to make little twang guitar, or even just using body percussion to clap hands to the beat, drum tail, stamp feet, and moving and dancing comes back into this again. And also acting out the stories, using the videos for children to copy the actions, to copy the words, to think of how to act out themselves, or to make I think it's called the mannequin challenge, where you say one frame of a story and children all get into the position of every character in the story. That's another great way for children to express themselves. I know for some reason the next slide skips, so I'm very sorry, and I don't know why it does it, but here we go. Blink and you'll miss it. The tip number 10, and it's the most important one that goes through all these different tips, enjoy yourself and have fun. I know it's hard work. Not every day you're going to be like, woohoo, let's learn English. But if you enjoy the class and enjoy the teaching experience, then the children will enjoy their English class as well. And hopefully the English time of the day will be one of their favorite and most rewarding times of the day in the school. And I think as well, there's lots of other ways children enjoy things these days. A lot of children, as well as playing games, acting out, doing the songs, nowadays, children enjoy for quiet time, screen time, and playing games on apps. So with the Student Digital from Ellie, they can play little language games with all the vocabulary and spend time sharing the games with their family at home, or even a little bit of class time that they can play the games on the Student Digital. And also on the Student Digital, they have stories and songs that they can enjoy with the family. So those are all my tips. And I know that there are so many more things I could have included. There's probably things that you shouting at the screen right now that you would like to see, but I would love to also hear your tips as well. And even if these are things that you already use, some of them, and it's always great to share our ideas, I think, and experiences, and share what works and makes a successful lesson. So if you could, I would love to hear your feedback on any questions about this webinar about your own essential tips. It doesn't have to be 10, it could be your 3 essential tips that you never would do a lesson without. And also any questions you have about this session. And hopefully I can come back with a follow-up with your questions and share more ideas and tips that you have contributed to the session. So just email Ellie at this address, and you can see on Facebook as well, and you can find them online. So just stop sharing. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you do get in touch because I'd love to hear from you, and happy teaching, everyone. Thank you.